Susan Pendergast. No relation, by the way. Director of Education Policy at the Show Me Institute. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you? I need you to talk right into that microphone.
Sure will.
There you go. St. Louis City Public Schools are suing their own retirement system?
The opposite, actually. The retirement system is suing the schools.
Okay. What's going on here?
So this happened last year where, these retirement systems are getting more and more unhealthy. They're not paying their bills. They don't have enough to,
the pensions don't have enough money
exactly.
for the
they keep not putting enough money in. So they also keep asking for more money every year. So this year, new St. Louis teachers, the newest ones, are putting in 9% of their paycheck plus Social Security. And then they want the school system to pay 19% for each teacher of their payroll plus Social Security. We're talking like 40% of payroll now. And St. Louis Public Schools said, no, we can't afford more than 16%, and that's all we're going to pay. So the retirement system is suing the public school system.
When you say 16%, what does that mean? Explain that.
So if you get paid $10,000, it's $1,600. So it's 16% of your payroll.
Gotcha. So your pension would be 16% of your...
Well, that's what they take out.
That's what they take out.
Yeah, they take 9% out of the teacher's salary, but then 16% out of the school budget. And what's happened is...
To match the 9%.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
And it keeps going up every year, and it's 11, then it's 12, then it's 14, and then it's 16. And St. Louis Public Schools said that's all we can afford.
Right.
We're not going any higher. And they said we have to have 19 or we're going to be in the red zone of being unhealthy. So they could not come to an agreement. And I just think it's interesting, or it's important for the newest teachers that just got hired this year to know that their employer is being sued by their retirement system.
Right.
I bet you not that many people know that. And in fact, the retirement system said they're going to be short by $232 million unless they pay the higher amount. So we'll see. It's in court, and it's something I talk about a lot. I know it's not the most exciting topic, but someone's going to have to pick up the bill.
Well, pension benefits and lack of benefits in these systems is it's one of those ticking time bombs.
It's ticking time bomb, and it is true in Missouri that teachers today are paid less in inflation-adjusted dollars than they were in 1970. They're not getting paid more. We are hiring a lot more staff, and we've got giant legacy costs. And so I know they want to get paid more, but you can't if you're going to be paying that much out of the classroom into a pension system. That's not affordable or sustainable.
Right.
And then you got to pay, for more people, because that's what they've chosen to do, is just hire more staff. So it's a problem, and it is a ticking time bomb, I think.
Is this just city teachers?
Yep, just the city of St. Louis. There's three separate. What's another problem? But three separate plans of Missouri: City of St. Louis, City of Kansas City, and then the rest of the state. And they can't intermingle. So if you want to recruit a teacher from Clayton to come to City of St. Louis, they have to leave their retirement plan, and they pretty much won't do that, right? So that creates a whole staffing problem.
But you have to leave your plan and say, I forego my future benefits? Mm-hmm. Well, why would somebody do that?
You wouldn't. So it makes it real hard for St. Louis city schools to recruit teachers from the better school districts. So,
is there a way to fix that, or does this need a act of God to do this?
Act of God, because one is Social Security and one doesn't. So in the state of Missouri system, they're putting in almost 30% of payroll, but they're not paying Social Security. So it's complicated. It's definitely a complicated issue, and I understand why. When you're coming out of college, you got student loans. It's the last thing on your mind when you're signing that contract. But I would like the next generation of teachers to think about it. Think about what they're agreeing to. You got to work 26 years before you get out what you put in, and in the same school system. So that's a huge commitment.
So if somebody works for 5, 6, 7 years in the city, and then they want to move out to St. Charles or move out to the county, they then forego all those benefits?
They'll take back what they put in,
right? But
what the school system put in for them, that's right. Only thing you can do is keep your years of service. So it's a complicated system. It's something we talk about at the Show Me Institute.
Right.
We know that some states, Sorry, Illinois, but it's coming to a head in Illinois. It's like they can't afford their pension promises, and there's no reason.
But it isn't just teachers in Illinois.
It's not just teachers. That's exactly right. We are having an event at the Show Me at St. Louis University, actually, to talk about MOSERS, which is the Missouri State Employee Retirement System.
Right.
Also has problems. And now a lot of this is like financial shenanigans of assuming they're going to make more money on their investments every year than is reasonable, like every single year making 8%.
Right.
So every year during the recession, they missed it. It's like, not paying your credit card bill. It's just going to
Well, is it because of shenanigans, or why are we having all these pension issues?
I would say that is shenanigans to assume an 8% rate of return every year. Some systems are trying to be better and do 7.5%, maybe 7%. Kansas City has looked at a more reasonable 5%, and that's why they get problems.
Right.
But the Missouri state teacher system is like, no, we're going to stick with 8%.
Right.
We're good. And that makes them look healthier than they are.
And so they're paying out benefits based on an 8% return.
Exactly.
And then when the music stops,
yeah, and I'm sorry,
the 25-year-old's going to be holding the bag.
That's right, because 55-year-olds are retiring and getting 2/3 of their salary probably for more years than they worked.
Right.
I mean, retiring at 55 today, I'm almost 54, so I'm hitting my stride. I can't imagine retiring in a year.
First of all, you look fantastic for 54.
Does.
But don't retire because they're going to run out of money.
I mean, teachers should expect to work to 65. I mean, like, it's just a system that's not sustainable. If you're 25 years old, don't think 30 years from now
Well, it was a
going to
system,
be in place.
right? It was a system based on 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, at least like almost a century ago. And the private sector, they've all,
Right.
changed to 401ks.
And you wonder if people are you even aware of the fact that people are living longer? It's like
Yeah.
the younger folks don't realize. So to retire at 55
Yeah.
just seems so
You
Right.
taught for
so
30 years,
short-sighted,
you
yeah.
probably will be retired for more than 30 years, right? So
exactly.
And that's kind of shenanigans. They use
Yeah.
old actuarial tables.
Yeah.
So
well, the other thing too is the 30-year-old teacher is a whole lot of experience walking out the door, and you're hiring somebody who's 25. No disrespect to the 25-year-old, but there's a whole lot of experience
Right.
walking out the door.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's your better teachers, because I think after a few years, if you're really good at it and dedicated, and you're like, well, look, I've gotten no promotions or raises here. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
my friends I went to college with have all gotten promoted and gotten raises, and here I am, working hard and not really getting the benefits. So we do see a lot of turnover in some of the.
So how
better
long do you
teachers.
expect this lawsuit to last in the city? Is this going to be 7 years later? You're going to be coming back talking about this?
Well, the troubling thing about that is that it could be retroactive to January 1st of 2018. So I'm on the board of a charter school. We're trying to budget thinking if the retirement system wins, we're going to have to go back and pay that extra 3%. And I don't think St. Louis Public Schools has the money sitting around. I know we don't. So the longer it goes on, the more that piece worries me. But I don't know. But I would not feel comfortable if my retirement plan was suing my employer, because
Right.
I have an expectation that I'm putting money in, right? And so
Yeah.
I just don't think teachers,
When you were saying
aware.
the St. Louis City Schools are hiring more staff, did you mean teachers or did you mean staff?
it's both.
Or-
And so I just mean in general, Missouri, the last 10 years, we've added about 5,000 students and about 7,000 staff. So
In the city of St. Louis?
in the state of Missouri.
In the state of Missouri.
So, people want smaller classrooms, smaller class sizes. You will need to add counselors. And I'm not saying these people aren't necessary, but
Right.
we've made a decision. Teachers can't get higher salaries and have more adults work in the system. You can't do both unless there's an unlimited pot of money.
Say that again. In the last 10 years, there's only been 5,000 more kids?
Yeah.
That's it?
We're at about 900,000 pretty steady. Yeah.
That's
in
a
the
bigger
state.
that's a bigger issue in and of itself, that only 5,000 more kids. I mean, that's a state that's not growing.
It's a state that's not growing, but there's a bunch of other baby busts and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
in there
yeah,
too.
yeah.
But but we continue to hire more adults, like almost 1-to-1 ratio. About half of that added staff were teachers. But you can't sustain that either. If you're going to keep bringing more people in,
Yeah.
you got to pay them.
Dr. Susan Pendergrass, more on the website?
Yes, showmeinstitute.org.
Showmeinstitute.org, Director of Education Policy. Good stuff. Thanks. 847 K.